Hello everybody, we're back in the shop, and today we are going to talk a little bit about metal stamping and how you can do this at home. Now what you're looking at here are some die plates, and you see the Willys logo in there, and these are real die plates. Got these from a stamping company, oh god, probably back in the 90s. I've got the locating pins and everything. And this was an unused set that the company sold me. And what I did was mill out a slot in both sides. And what this was for the CJ2A windshield frame, where it was stamped Willys in there. And I was making a bunch of these many years ago. And shortly after I started making them, Chrysler sent their team of lawyers to kind of snuff me out and stop me from making them. So I haven't made them in many years. They did approach me after they shut me down and asked if I wanted a licensing deal with them, which I turned down. And I haven't made these for anybody since. But you can make them for yourself. There's no rules, or nobody's going to come after you if you make them for yourself. I just can't sell them. I don't know, there's some kind of deal with the Filipinos body tubs where they're stamping them now, and there's licensing agreements and this and that and the other thing, but I didn't want to get involved with that. So this die set has been sitting for a while, and there's an actual piece that I made with it. I just have this one hanging on the wall. But to make something like this, like I say, I milled a pocket in there probably 3/4 of an inch deep. This is casting resin, this black stuff. This is something you mix up and you pour in there. So you put that, you fill that up, you take your original part, you lay it in there. Obviously you put some kind of release on here. You lay it in there, and that gets that side done. Then you figure out the thickness of your material. You lay a sheet of wax in there, get it all down in the holes and stuff, and from there you can pour this side. And it's not a very difficult project, but you've got to take your time, follow the steps, and do everything just right, or you'll wind up with a mess. But like I say, these I made these in the late 90s, and I'm just bringing these out today because I'm making another set of dies, and I'll show you those in just a little bit. But I'm gonna load these up in the in just a standard press, and we'll press a small piece of metal out, and you can see how it goes. And they're kind of heavy, so I will lift them over to the press and meet you over there, and we'll just put some pressure on them, and I'll make a piece and show you what it looks like. Okay, I'm just in a simple press here. Everybody can easily find one of these and put one in their shop. Nothing exciting about it. 30-ton jack in there, and there's the the bottom. And I'm just going to stick a piece of copper in there. I don't want anybody from Chrysler getting the wrong idea or thinking I'm making parts again. But there's a piece of copper in there. I will get the top one loaded, get the pins in, and we'll press this out and see what comes out. Okay, there we are, loaded up in the press, and you can see that gap between the two plates, and that's what we need to close up to make our proper stamped Willys. So I think you can see that okay. It doesn't take much pressure, and we're using some copper in there, and the pins are in. You can see these guys are in to guide it, and we're just going to put some pressure on that. And what we're doing is just squeezing that, and we're going to close that gap up. So just a few pumps on the jack and we'll have a nicely stamped Willys. And I'm going to break this down now. And it's terribly heavy, so I will break it down, put it on the bench, and I'll meet you back over at the bench there with the completed piece. Okay, here we are back over at the bench. I got that all broken down. You can see how nice and crisp the lines are. It's an exact replication of the original. Like I say, this is just in some copper. You can see we got some copper oxide starting down there. But that is an authentic Willys stamp. And like I say, this is correct for a CJ2A windshield frame. And I'm just showing you guys this because I'm working on another stamping project, and I just wanted to show you with a little bit of time, patience, and energy, you can make a lot of different parts. Now I'm going to show you the next project I'm working on. Obviously, you can see this one came out real nice. So I'm working on a not a low budget project, but I'm using a lot of scrap and bits and pieces of stuff I have laying around the shop to make my forms. These are some forms you see here. I'm going to get set up better, and I'll show you what I've got, and I'll show you what I'm doing, and let me get set up with the tripod and some better lighting. I'll be right back with you. Okay guys, what you're looking at here is an upper and lower homemade die. My pins here don't go through the upper die and into the lower die. I just got them welded on the outside. I've got a little bit of mix of everything here. I got some I-beams on top, got some angle iron on the bottom. I've got some rectangular 4140 in there. I got a little bit of everything in here. There's my fill hole for the upper die, and I think you can see in there I've got a vent hole. So this is a two-piece die set up just like this. I'm gonna break these down, and I poured the lower yesterday, and I'm gonna take the top off. These are crazy heavy as well, so I'll get the top off and I'll show you where I got on the bottom yesterday, and I'll show you what I'm doing. Hang in there, I'll be right back. Okay, now when we pour the upper, we're using this bottom hole in the resin right here as our form. So we need to add something, the thickness of the material we're going to use. And we're using 31 thousandths thick copper. So what I have here is a sheet of wax. Exactly 31 thousandths thick. You get this in any kind of thickness you want, depending on what kind of sheet metal you're sticking in there. This is going to act as the thickness of the sheet metal and give us the perfect clearance we need. And at the same time, it's going to allow nothing to stick together. If the resin hits the resin, it's going to bond and you'll never get it apart. So this has to be heated up. If you heat it too much, it's just going to melt. It's got to be heated up and carefully placed in this entire cavity. We don't want any rips. We don't want any tears in there. That's gonna flow right down in there everywhere. This is a step you have to take your time with. You have to get it completely up against your form there. It's a lot of work to get the wax work done, but you need this. Like I say, it acts as your clearance. This is a perfect clearance because the same thickness as your material, and it also, the resin won't stick to it. So there can be no spots where resin can hit resin or resin can hit steel or anything like that. So this is a critical step before you pour your top, this has to be perfect. So I'll just take a heat gun and I will flow it down in there and carefully push it and bend it and mold it. It's a little bit of a pain, but it has to be done right. So that's going to be the step on that one. And I'll take you over. Okay, now there's the bottom mold for this guy. That's going to go in there, and we'll lift that up and kind of jig it up to where it's the right height. And we'll pour resin all around there, and we'll let that one dry. Again, we'll put some mold release on the back, fluid film. Put some mold release there, set that in the wet resin, and just walk away. Turn the heat up, and just let that set up for about 3 hours, and it'll get nice and firm, and then overnight it'll harden perfectly. And to do this, I just got one of these diesel powered heaters, and I point it at the bench and I get all the steel nice and warm, and it helps it cure real nice. So that's what I'm working on, and like I say, there's a lot of wax work to be done on that one. Pouring the other one's not a big deal. I'm going to get one of them waxed up, and I'm going to get this one set at the right height. That way I can pour both of them at once. I can pour an upper and one lower, and then I'll just have one more upper to pour. And that's what I'm working on. Like I say, I don't know why I'm so focused on these defroster ducts, but I just kind of aggravated with all the junk out there, and it just, I'm trying to take this one, every part that I make, I'm trying to look at it, see what's available on the market, and if it's no good, I like to try and improve upon it, or come up with a new way of doing things. And like I say, I couldn't feel good about putting that plastic one in there. That Jeep is 100% junk part free, if you will. There's no parts from that Omix company. I won't put any of those parts in any of my restorations. Not a single part from there in this project. And I'm just trying to do it the best I can. And I'm doing it for myself, so trying to make parts as I go. And this is where I'm at on this. There's quite a bit of time in making the molds, but like I say, I had all the steel bits and pieces laying around, and every now and again it's good to clean up some stuff you got under your feet. So these are all pieces of steel I had laying around, and this is what I'm turning them into. So I guess I'll get all this stuff done, like I say, the wax and stuff, and I'll probably revisit with you tomorrow and show you how to mix the resin and how to pour the resin, and how to put the mold release on, set that in. I'll show you all that. I think I should be able to get everything done the rest of today, and I'll get back with you hopefully tomorrow and show you what the next step looks like. And hopefully by the end of the week we'll be pushing some copper in there and making some defroster ducts. So hang in there with me, and thanks for watching, and I'll get right back with you as soon as I can, and show you where I'm at.